evening, sports fans, and welcome to Sports Desk with me, your host, RJ Nudds. Tonight we'll be turning our attention to the AFC North and considering the options available to those four teams during free agency and the upcoming draft. So let's focus initially on the bottom dwellers of last year. One of two teams from Ohio in this division, the Cleveland Browns. Now, during free agency, the Browns have already released offensive tackle Tony Pashos, who they may look to replace through the draft. Now, the Browns, they hold 2 first-round picks this year, which is a bonus for any team in that position. Remember what Denver did when they drafted Tim Tebow with a late first-round pick, much to the surprise of many. Hopefully, Cleveland can snag themselves a similarly productive player, but hopefully in a more traditional mould than the Denver's found with Tebow. So the top tackle prospect available this year in the draft is Matt Kalil, the younger brother of standout NFL professional Ryan Kalil. Kalil is expected to go at number 3 to the Minnesota Vikings, but should the Vikings choose to pass on Kalil for any reason, there is every chance that the Browns will still be able to pick up a good replacement for Pashos later on in the draft using their 22nd pick this year. So the Browns, they are in the top 5 and they have number 22. So they have a great chance to pick up 2 quality players and address some pressing needs on both sides of the ball. They're still in the market for a franchise quarterback. Young Colt McCoy, who was started last year, didn't fare so well under centre. He had a lot of trouble with concussions and frequent injuries and was knocked out of several games and struggled in his first full professional season. He looked impressive in pre-season, and for that reason I still have quite a lot of faith in McCoy's ability to play. He was occasionally rash with the ball when he had it, when he was healthy, and it's seen him fall out of favour with the organisation. They should certainly try and retain him though, because he's quite good value for a player of his potential, but perhaps sit him for a couple of years behind an experienced veteran or an emerging starter such as Green Bay's backup Matt Flynn, who is also entering free agency and expected to be a marquee signing for one lucky team. The AFC North now boasts 3 top-level quarterbacks, with the addition of last season's rookie steal Andy Dalton to the Cincinnati Bengals. Here they are, the second Ohio team in this division, and as of last year, the far most successful from that state. The Bengals surprised a lot of people by running to a 9-7 record and sneaking into the playoffs as the 6th seed in the AFC and taking the second wildcard behind the Pittsburgh Steelers. They faced the Houston Texans in the wildcard round of the playoffs, where they unfortunately lost. However, with the standout link-up play of Andy Red Dalton and AJ Green at wide receiver, the Bengals really have a lot to feel good about. Their defense as well was incredibly prolific throughout the season and really kept that young offense that was just learning to work in sync with itself in the mix in a lot of close games. And they have athletic playmakers on both sides of the ball. Sure, they're going to lose a couple of people through free agency, but they have a mid-round draft pick and they have a fair deal of cap space to sign a couple of free agents if they feel it's necessary. However, I would probably focus on just continuing with the team that was set up from last year with as few losses as is possible. Okay, so could they figure in a playoff race again? Well, the Bengals, like I say, do have 2 young Pro Bowl talents in AJ Green and Andy Dalton, guys which we can expect to be talked about for years to come if they continue their relationship on the field and their excellent level of play. But there were a lot of teams in the AFC last year that never really got into gear. Teams with far more talent, teams with far more experience, and teams that you really would expect to take the Bengals' place in the postseason. I'm thinking that the Jets, the New York Jets, the Tennessee Titans, the Oakland Raiders, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Miami Dolphins, and the San Diego Chargers could all finish above Cincinnati this year. Every one of those teams is getting better or underperformed last year and are expected to break out. So it doesn't look great for the Bengals at the moment, but anything could happen. I mean, they surprised us last year with a team of nobodies, but now those nobodies have become somebodies. There's every chance that they could step up a gear and compete with the other periphery teams, shall we say, in the AFC. Furthermore, there are rumours that the Bengals might be in the market for Oakland Raiders free agent running back Michael Bush. Bush is a quality rusher who figures to leave California due to the emergence of teammate Darren McFadden as an every down back. Bush would be an excellent signing for the Bengals and would give young quarterback Andy Dalton a lot more time in a pocket, forcing defenses to scheme for the presence of Bush, who is capable of being a number one guy, and that can only facilitate Dalton's development as a quarterback and the Bengals' chances of returning to the postseason. Okay, now on to the most successful team from this division of recent years, with the exception of the Steelers, who have actually won the Super Bowl, but consistently the Ravens are always in the mix towards the end of the AFC season, always fighting for a place in the championship game, and unfortunately for them, falling that little bit short of the Super Bowl. They look to lose offensive guard Ben Grubbs to the Saints, who have sent Cal Nix to the Redskins. To the Buccaneers. Baltimore may not want to pay Grubbs the money he could command elsewhere, and should have no trouble replacing him, as linemen tend to learn fast in Maryland, probably from having to train against that amazing defense led by middle linebacker Ray Lewis, the defense that has, of course, been the identity of this hard-hitting team for well over a decade now. And on to the genuinely most successful team, I suppose you should say, the team that does actually have the most Super Bowl rings in the National Football League, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the Steelers need to make every effort to hold on to wide receiver Mike Wallace, who has blown that offense wide open and made them a much more balanced team. The Steelers have always been a great, hard-nosed, hard-hitting, run-first, old-school kind of football team, but with Wallace out wide, they really have learned to stretch the field. Roethlisberger is capable of making those big throws, and the connection that he has with Wallace is absolutely integral to the Steelers' continued success. Having a almost psychic link-up with a wide receiver is essential for a quarterback like Roethlisberger and a team like the Steelers, who tend to make the most out of every broken play. You can't bust a play against the Steelers until the ball is dead. If Roethlisberger is flushed out of the pocket, he tends to roll outside. He will look for options. They play what we like to say a style of playground football, where anything goes as long as the ball moves downfield and the chains go with it. So Roethlisberger is, of course, entrenched as a starter, and with both backups Dennis Dixon and Charlie Batch careering into free agency, the Steelers might consider letting them both go and picking up a development guy low down in the draft. Now, the Steelers, given their high level of consistency in the AFC, tend not to have high draft picks to play with, but they always manage to draft pretty well. Like I say, they play in a very tough division, and so guys have to learn quickly, thinking on their feet, as is the way in the AFC North. The Steelers also need to re-sign as many of their defensive players as they can, and just keep doing what they're doing, really. Even when rebuilding, the Steelers are dangerous and a perennial Super Bowl threat, as we saw when they made it to the Super Bowl against the Green Bay Packers 2 years ago. Although they perhaps overachieved that season, they have won, of course, 2 of the last 6 Super Bowls. Back in Super Bowl 40, when they beat the Seahawks, and then again when they beat my beloved Arizona Cardinals in Super Bowl 43. So, the prediction. Well, the Steelers and the Ravens should definitely make it out of the AFC North. There's going to be a bit of a challenge from the AFC East, with the Jets hoping to muscle their way into a wildcard spot, which I imagine they will share with either the Ravens or the Steelers. But Miami are still hoping to sign Peyton Manning, who is at this moment in time in Tennessee, talking to owner Bud Adams about a potential contract for life. Manning is very interested in staying in football after he retires from playing the game, and Adams is offering him a front office decision-making position with the Tennessee Titans, should he choose to play for them in the twilight of his career. So that looks like Miami may not figure as much as we thought, but it does mean that the Titans become a genuine contender. They were very good last year and really lost some games that they should have closed out a little more effectively. And especially since CJ2K was not playing anywhere near his best throughout the 2011 regular season. If he returns to the form that saw him set all manner of records in 2010, we should all be very afraid of what Tennessee are capable of. The Browns will likely finish dead last again. They are definitely going to have to spend a couple of years rebuilding. If they do choose to move away from McCoy, they will be forced to either draft in a quarterback who doesn't yet know the system, go with an experienced but perhaps slightly uninspiring vet, shell out for Matt Flynn, or hope that they get lucky through the draft and develop a new boy over the next couple of seasons. I can't see them making the playoffs. I can't really see them threatening anyone, and I don't imagine they will win a game in the AFC North next year, what with the improvement of the Bengals, who should be a consistent threat to every team they play week in, week out, but likely will miss the playoffs this year due to the emergence of the Titans and the Chargers and the Raiders and the Jets and all the other teams that didn't manage to make it into the postseason last year. Okay, so that's all for the AFC North. Next up, we will be analysing the big guns of the NFC East, the division that, of course, plays home to the current Super Bowl and world champions, the New York Giants. Thank you.